All right, so today we're diving into AI-powered scams.
Hmm.
And, this stuff is both fascinating and a little unsettling. And I know you're probably as curious as I am about this whole new world of AI and how it's being used. We've got some pretty wild reports from Europol, the National Cybersecurity Center. Even Wired magazine is covering this.
It really does feel like a whole new era of deception, right? Like we're not just talking about those old school phishing emails anymore,
Yeah.
the ones with all the typos. AI is just making scams so sophisticated, it's getting harder and harder to spot them. It's blurring the lines between what's real and what's fake.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. I mean, we've all heard about deepfakes, but what makes them so effective?
Well, deepfakes use something called generative adversarial networks, or JAMs for short.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like having two AIs battling it out. One's trying to create fake content, the other's trying to detect it. And they just keep going back and forth, learning from each other, until that fake content is almost impossible to tell apart from the real thing.
So these AIs are basically teaching each other how to become better scammers.
Yeah, in a way, that's exactly what's happening. And it's not just limited to video. Deepfakes can create audio, too, mimicking someone's voice with scary accuracy.
And we actually have a chilling real-world example of this from Wired magazine. They reported on a scammer who used voice cloning technology to impersonate a company's CEO, called an employee, and convince them to transfer a huge sum of money to a fraudulent account.
It's crazy to think that something as unique as your voice can be weaponized like this. And, it raises a lot of questions about trust in the digital age. Like, how do we even begin to navigate this when we can't even be sure if we're actually talking to the real person?
Yeah, and it's not just deepfakes we need to worry about. AI is being used to create super convincing phishing emails, too.
Oh, absolutely. AI can analyze huge data sets of text and
Wow.
learn to write in a specific person's style, making it even harder to spot those red flags we used to rely on. Like, imagine receiving an email that sounds exactly like your boss asking for a wire transfer. Would you be able to tell if it was actually them?
That's where the work of Kevin Brake comes in. He's been researching these sophisticated AI scammers and their tactics, and he's painting a pretty sobering picture of what we're up against.
His research is really insightful. He highlights a crucial question: what to do about AI-powered scams. He argues that our old defenses just aren't cutting it anymore. These scams are evolving so rapidly.
He also talks about the rise of voice cloning, where scammers can clone a voice with just a few seconds of audio. That's right, just a few seconds. That's all it takes to potentially trick someone into sending money or revealing sensitive information.
And the scariest part is this technology is becoming increasingly accessible. It's not something that only state-sponsored actors or highly skilled hackers can use. We're talking about readily available tools that anyone with a bit of tech savvy can get their hands on.
So if even our voices can be faked, what can we do to protect ourselves? It feels like we're constantly playing catch-up with the scammers.
We are, but that doesn't mean we're powerless. One crucial step is to understand how these scams work. Knowledge is our first line of defense.
Okay, so knowing the enemy is step one. What else can we do? Are there any practical steps we can take to stay safe?
Absolutely. We need to start thinking like detectives, looking for those subtle inconsistencies that can expose a scam.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Well, with deepfakes, there might be slight distortions in the video, or the person's lip movements might not quite sync up with their speech. In emails, pay attention to the sender's address. Look for grammatical errors. Be wary of any unusual requests or urgency.
So we need to be extra vigilant,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to anything involving money or personal information.
Exactly. If you receive a request that seems even slightly suspicious, take the time to verify it through a separate channel. Don't just reply to the email or call back the same number.
That's a good point. It's so easy to get caught up in the moment, especially if someone is being pushy or playing on your emotions. But taking that extra step to verify could save you a lot of trouble.
And don't underestimate the power of a healthy dose of skepticism. In this new world of AI-powered scams, it's more important than ever to question what you see and hear online.
So it's not about being paranoid, but about being informed and aware.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone in this. There are resources and technologies available to help you stay safe.
Speaking of technology, what about those AI-powered cybersecurity tools you mentioned earlier? How do they work?
These tools are designed to analyze data and detect patterns that might indicate a scam. They can look for things like unusual login attempts, suspicious email activity, even subtle changes in someone's online behavior that could signal they've been compromised.
So it's like having a digital bodyguard that's constantly on the lookout for threats.
That's a great way to put it. And these tools are becoming increasingly sophisticated, using machine learning to adapt to new scams as they emerge.
That's reassuring. But it also feels like a bit of an arms race, with the good guys using AI to fight back against the bad guys.
It is in a sense, and it's a race we need to win. But it's not just about technology. We also need to be proactive in educating ourselves and others about the risks of AI-powered scams.
I completely agree. Knowledge is power, as they say. And the more we understand about these scams, the better equipped we'll be to protect ourselves and those around us.
Exactly. It's about empowering ourselves to navigate this new digital landscape safely and confidently.
This is all pretty fascinating and a little unnerving, to be honest. But I'm already feeling more informed. And I'm sure our listeners are too.
Good, because the more we talk about this, the more we can raise awareness and help people stay safe.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground already. We've talked about deepfakes, voice cloning, phishing emails, and the importance of staying vigilant online. But we're just getting started.
That's right. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore the solutions in more detail, from the latest technological advancements to practical tips you can implement in your everyday life.
And we'll delve into the bigger picture, the societal and ethical implications of AI-powered scams. What does the future hold? What can we do to ensure that AI is used for good, not for deception? We'll tackle all of that and more, so stay tuned. Welcome back. So we've established that these AI-powered scams are a serious threat, and they're getting more sophisticated all the time. But before we spiral into like a full-blown dystopian panic, let's talk solutions. What can we actually do to fight back against this new wave of digital deception?
Well, the good news is it's not all doom and gloom. There are some really promising developments in cybersecurity that are using the power of AI to combat these scams.
Okay, so tell me more about that. How is AI being used on the side of good?
One exciting area is the development of real-time AI detection systems. Imagine a security system that can analyze data as it comes in, identifying and flagging potential scams before they even reach you.
So like an AI bodyguard constantly scanning for threats?
Exactly. These systems use machine learning algorithms to analyze huge amounts of data, looking for patterns and anomalies that might indicate a scam. They can detect things like suspicious email activity, unusual login attempts, even subtle changes in someone's online behavior that could signal they've been compromised.
That's pretty incredible, like having a digital detective working behind the scenes to keep you safe.
And it's not just about reacting to threats. AI is also being used to proactively identify and shut down scam operations.
How does that work?
Well, AI can analyze data from multiple sources, like social media, dark web forums, even financial transactions, to track down scammers and disrupt their activities. It can identify patterns and connections that human investigators might miss, leading to more effective law enforcement.
So AI is not only helping us defend ourselves, it's also helping us take the fight to the scammers themselves. That's really encouraging.
Absolutely. And then there's the potential of blockchain technology to completely revolutionize identity verification.
Okay, you mentioned blockchain earlier, but I'll admit I'm still a bit fuzzy on how that could help prevent scams.
Sure, imagine a world where your identity isn't just a bunch of data stored in a database, but a secure, tamper-proof record on a blockchain. This would make it virtually impossible for scammers to create fake profiles or steal your identity.
I see how that could be a game changer. But what about the more practical, everyday things we can do to protect ourselves? What advice would you give to someone who's feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this?
Well, first of all, don't panic. There are some simple steps you can take to make yourself a less appealing target for scammers.
Like what? What are your top tips?
One of the most important things is to enable multi-factor authentication, or MFA, on all your accounts.
You mentioned MFA before,
Yeah.
but can you explain exactly what that is and why it's so important?
Sure, MFA adds an extra layer of security to your accounts by requiring you to provide 2 or more forms of identification before you can log in.
So even if a scammer gets a hold of your password, they still need that second piece of the puzzle to access your account.
Exactly. It's like having 2 locks on your door. It makes it much harder for anyone to break in.
Okay, so MFA is a must-have. What else?
Another crucial tip is to be wary of unsolicited messages, especially those that ask you to click on a link or download a file.
Yeah, I'm always a little suspicious of emails or messages that seem to come out of the blue.
And you should be. Remember, scammers are getting really good at impersonating people and organizations of trust. So if you get a message that seems even slightly suspicious, don't click on anything. Instead, contact the sender directly through a known trusted channel to verify if the message is actually legit.
That's such a good point. It's so easy to get caught up in the moment and just click on a link without thinking, especially if it seems to be coming from someone you know. But taking that extra step to verify could save you so much trouble.
Absolutely. And it's worth mentioning that this goes for phone calls too. If you receive a call from someone claiming to be from your bank or a government agency, don't give them any personal information. Instead, hang up and call the organization back directly using a phone number you know is legitimate.
It's all about being cautious and verifying, verifying, verifying.
Exactly. And here's another tip that might sound obvious, but it's surprising how often people overlook it. Keep your software and devices up to date. Software updates often include security patches that can protect you from known vulnerabilities.
So those annoying update reminders are actually there to help us.
That's right. Think of them as little gifts from your tech overlords, designed to keep you safe from the digital bad guys.
Okay, I'll try to see them that way from now on. But let's be honest. Even if we do everything right, there's still a chance we could fall victim to a scam. These scammers are constantly coming up with new tricks. So what happens if the worst happens? What should we do if we think we've been scammed?
Well, the first thing is to stay calm and act quickly. The sooner you take action, the better your chances of mitigating the damage.
So what specific steps should we take?
If you think you've given your personal information to a scammer, contact your bank or credit card company immediately to report the fraud.
And what if you've already sent money to a scammer?
If you've sent money through a wire transfer or other irreversible method, it might be difficult to recover, but it's still worth contacting your bank or financial institution to see if there's anything they can do. You should also report the scam to the authorities, like the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, IC3, or Action Fraud in the UK.
So even if we can't get our money back, reporting the scam can help prevent others from becoming victims.
Exactly. And it can also help law enforcement track down the scammers and bring them to justice.
So it's not just about protecting ourselves. It's about helping to make the online world a safer place for everyone.
Absolutely. And remember, there's no shame in falling victim to a scam. These scammers are professionals, and they're constantly evolving their tactics.
That's a really important point. It's easy to feel embarrassed or foolish if you've been scammed, but the reality is anyone can be a target. It's not a reflection of your intelligence or your tech savviness.
Exactly. It's about understanding the risks and taking steps to mitigate them.
So we've talked about the threats, the defenses,
Yeah.
and what to do if the worst happens. But I'm curious about the bigger picture. What are the implications of AI-powered scams for society as a whole?
That's a really important question, and it's one that we need to be thinking about very carefully, because these scams have the potential to erode trust, not just in online interactions, but in institutions, and even in each other.
I see what you mean. If we can't trust what we see and hear online, it can have a ripple effect on our relationships and our society as a whole.
Exactly. Imagine the impact of deepfakes being used to spread misinformation during elections or to manipulate public opinion on important issues. It could lead to increased polarization, distrust in the media,
Wow.
and a breakdown of civil discourse.
That's a chilling thought. And it's not just about politics. Think about the potential impact on personal relationships. Deepfakes could be used to create fake revenge porn or to spread rumors and lies about individuals, causing irreparable harm to their reputations and relationships.
And then there are the economic implications. As these scams become more sophisticated, they're costing businesses and individuals billions of dollars each year. And as AI becomes more widely adopted, we can expect these costs to continue to rise.
Well, it's not just a personal issue. It's a global challenge with potentially far-reaching consequences.
Exactly. And it's a challenge that requires a multifaceted approach. We need smarter technology, yes. But we also need smarter people. We need to educate ourselves and others about the risks of AI-powered scams and develop critical thinking skills to help us navigate this increasingly complex digital landscape.
So it's not about AI versus humans, but about AI and humans working together to outsmart the scammers.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that AI is a powerful tool. But like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad. It's up to us to ensure that it's used responsibly and ethically.
Speaking of responsibility, what role do governments and organizations play in combating these threats?
Well, governments have a crucial role to play in enacting legislation and regulations to deter and punish those who use AI for malicious purposes.
So we need laws that specifically address AI-powered scams.
Yeah.
And make it clear that these activities are illegal and will be prosecuted.
Exactly. And these laws need to be updated regularly to keep pace with the rapid evolution of technology.
And what about organizations? What can they do?
Organizations need to prioritize cybersecurity and invest in the latest technologies and training to protect themselves and their customers from AI-powered scams.
So it's not just about having the right technology. It's about having a culture of security awareness within organizations.
Absolutely. Everyone from the CEO to the intern needs to be aware of the risks and take steps to mitigate them.
And it's not just about internal security. Organizations also have a responsibility to educate their customers about the risks of AI-powered scams and provide them with the tools and resources to protect themselves.
Exactly. It's about creating a partnership between organizations and their customers to create a safer online environment for everyone.
So it sounds like combating AI-powered scams is a collective effort that requires collaboration between governments, organizations, and individuals.
That's right. It's a shared responsibility, and we all have a role to play.
We've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive, from the latest technological solutions to practical tips for staying safe online. But there's still so much more to explore.
That's right. In the final part of our deep dive, we'll take a look at the future of AI and cybersecurity and explore what we can do to ensure that AI is used for good, not for deception. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into AI-powered scams. It's been a wild ride. We've explored how AI is being used to create these increasingly sophisticated scams, and we've talked about some ways to protect yourself. But now I want to step back and look at the bigger picture. What does the future hold for AI and cybersecurity?
Well, the future of AI is both exciting and uncertain. On the one hand, AI has incredible potential for good in cybersecurity, making the online world a safer place for everyone. Like we've already talked about some of those advancements, real-time detection systems, and blockchain-based identity verification.
Yeah, those are some really promising developments. But I have to admit, I still get a little nervous thinking about AI in the wrong hands. It feels like we're always playing catch-up with these scammers. I worry that they'll always be one step ahead.
I get that. It's true, AI can be a double-edged sword. But it's important to remember AI itself isn't good or bad. It's a tool. And like any tool, it depends on how it's used. The key is to make sure that AI is developed and used responsibly with the right safeguards to prevent misuse.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we make sure AI is used for good, not for bad?
It's complicated and there's no easy answer, but I think it starts with education. We need to make sure that everyone understands the potential risks and benefits of AI, from developers to policymakers to everyday users.
I agree. The more we know about AI, the better equipped we'll be to make smart decisions about how it's developed and used. But education alone isn't enough, is it? We also need regulations and policies.
Absolutely. Governments and regulatory bodies need to create clear guidelines for ethical and responsible AI development and use.
But regulations can stifle innovation, can't they? How do we balance fostering innovation with preventing misuse?
That is the million-dollar question. It's a tough balance, and there's no one solution that fits all. But I think it's really important to involve everyone in the conversation. Researchers, developers, policymakers, ethicists, everyone.
So it sounds like we need a multi-pronged approach, a combo of education, regulation, and collaboration to make sure that AI is a force for good.
You got it. It's a shared responsibility, and we all have a part to play. And it's not just about preventing the bad stuff. It's also about using AI to actually create a better future.
That's a good point. We've been focusing a lot on the risks of AI. But we can't forget that AI also has the potential to do a lot of good in the world.
Of course, AI is already being used to tackle some of the world's biggest problems, developing new medical treatments, fighting climate change. And as AI gets more advanced, we can expect even more innovative uses that benefit everyone.
So we need to be aware of the risks. But we shouldn't let that stop us from exploring the good that AI can do.
Exactly. It's about embracing the good while staying cautious and proactive about the bad.
It really feels like we're at the beginning of something huge, like we're standing on the edge of a new digital frontier with all sorts of possibilities and challenges. And it's up to all of us to navigate it ethically and responsibly.
Well said. It's an exciting time to be alive. And despite the challenges, I'm actually optimistic about the future. I believe we can harness the power of AI to create a world that's safer, more just, and more prosperous for everyone.
That's a great note to end on. So that wraps up our deep dive into AI-powered scams. I hope you found it informative and empowering. Remember, knowledge is power. And the more we understand about these scams, the better we can protect ourselves and others. What are your thoughts about all of this? What stood out to you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like this episode if you found it helpful. If you want to learn more about all this, be sure to check out Europol's website, the National Cybersecurity Center, and Wired Magazine. They all have some really insightful articles on this topic. Until next time, stay safe and stay informed.